How groundwater moves in southeast Minnesota, the Bluffland Karst landscape.
The Bluffland Karst landscape is the scenic area where the Root River completes its 80-mile course to the Mississippi River.
A map of the Root River watershed in southeast Minnesota is shown. The watershed is divided into three primary landscapes. From west to east they are Glacial Till, Karst, and Bluffland Karst. The Bluffland Karst region extends north beyond the watershed boundary along the Mississippi River. An illustration of the Bluffland Karst landscape shows a deep valley surrounded by tall bluffs on either side. The valley is wide with a flat floodplain that includes agricultural and forested land, a stream, and a spring. The bluff walls are steep and have exposed bedrock. Under the bluffland surface there are multiple alternating layers of limestone, shale, and sandstone. In the limestone there are horizontal and vertical cracks. The layer of shale cuts under the base of the valley. A layer of sandstone is the lowermost bedrock layer. The top of the water table is highest in the bluffs, and it dips down as it intersects with the bottom of the stream.
Long ago, powerful meltwater from distant glaciers carved large valleys and bluffs in the softer sandstone and shale bedrock layers. Groundwater movement in the uppermost bedrock layers and near the fractured valley edges can be very fast.
Rainfall begins over the landscape. Water movement arrows begin to move rapidly through the soil and through the cracks in the bedrock. Water movement is both vertical and horizontal as it zigzags to the valley edge.
In some locations, streams can disappear underground in the shale and sandstone layers and then reappear downstream or in a completely different valley.
The camera pans to the stream in the valley. The stream is flowing toward the viewer, but then abruptly ends and a dry stream bed is pictured. As you follow the stream bed, you see water reappear in the final third of the stream closest to the viewer.
Shale layers act as barriers and cause groundwater to move sideways, where it flows to the surface within the valleys.
The camera pans back to the cross-section of bedrock, where shale is the third layer and lies beneath the limestone layer. Water movement arrows show water zigzagging through cracks in the limestone and then traveling horizontally across the top of the shale layer.
Below the shale layer, deeper sandstone bedrock layers are under pressure. This pressure forces groundwater to move upwards and toward the valleys. Streams and springs in Bluffland valleys receive a much greater proportion of older, regional groundwater.
The camera pans back to the cross-section of bedrock below the valley and stream. Water movement arrows indicate the upward movement of groundwater from the layers below and show it mixing with the water near the bottom of the stream and in the stream. Younger water arrows are white, while the older groundwater arrows are yellow. Where the two mix, the two colored arrows move together in a circle.
Some of this water may have infiltrated the land surface from far away and be decades to centuries old. These deeper aquifers provide a consistent supply of water that is distinctive to this area's trout streams. Younger water is often from aquifers located above shale layers and can be just days to decades old.
The camera pans out to see the full illustration, and the title, "What Decade Are You Drinking?" appears on the screen. A shallow well is highlighted and it extends into the limestone above the shale layer.
Older water is typically from aquifers below protective shale layers and can be decades to several centuries old.
A deeper well is highlighted and it extends into the layers below the shale layer.
In many cases, drinking water is a mixture of both younger and older water.
In the ending summary animation, the title, "Groundwater Movement in the Bluffland Karst Landscape," appears. Water movement arrows show young surface water traveling at the top of the bluff, down through the zigzagging cracks, toward the fractured bedrock near the valley edge. From here, water emerges as a spring or continues to move along the valley edge through the bedrock where it mixes with the older groundwater. The older groundwater is under pressure and is moving upward through the bedrock layers and moving towards the bottom of the valley and stream. Younger groundwater from the surface at the top of the bluff is also shown traveling down to the shale layer, where it begins to move horizontally toward the valley edge. Younger water is shown flowing upward through the shallow well, and a mixture of older and younger groundwater is shown moving up the deeper well below the shale layer. The credit screen includes the following information. Video production by Minnesota Department of Agriculture 2020. Advising organizations include the University of Minnesota, Minnesota Geological Survey, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, Minnesota Department of Health, University of Minnesota, Minnesota Extension, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Minnesota Ag Water Resources Center, Olmsted Soil and Water Conservation District. Produced by Kevin Keener. Animation and video production by Luke Porter, Moving Tree Media. Written by Kevin Keener, Bob Tipping, Julia Steenberg, and John Barry. Editing, review, and support by Jen Schaust, Britt Gangnes, Greg Klinger, Anthony Runkle, Jeff Green, Yaba Kiersgaard, Margaret Wagner, Martin Larson, Emily Zanin, Kim and Barbara Crawford, Justin Watkins, Dr. Calvin Alexander, Kent and Jude Dornink, Warren Formo, and Kevin Masarek. Funding sources include Minnesota's Clean Water Fund through the Minnesota Department of Agriculture's Root River Field to Stream Partnership, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and a grant from the Minnesota Corn Research and Promotion Council. Special thanks to the Minnesota Geological Survey for their assistance with this project.